Hello, welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. Today I'm here with a massive, kind of massive anyway, a paperback horror haul. And there's some other things in here besides horror. But what I did was I went to my favorite bookstore, secondhand bookstore, and because I had unhauled some books there that were like newer books, I got a $14 store credit. So I had to take advantage of it. Now, I always love going there and finding that they had some new books. So I go there at least every couple months. I try. So I used my $14 credit and maybe a couple dollars more. So I got a lot of books for very cheap. So I'm going to do close-ups of all of them, and we might as well just start. So the first one is Thirst by, I'm going to try to pronounce this in the Italian way, Michael Sicilione. Now, I don't know if you might pronounce it differently, but this is called Pleasure, Pain, Hunger, Thirst. It Never Ends. Just from reading the back, this sounds like a really good vampire book. And you can never get enough vampire books. The only problem I have with this bookstore is they put a big old stamp, like right in the front cover of the book, which I find a little annoying, especially if you're going to collect. But anyway, that's nitpicking. All these books cost like $1 each. This is Pinnacle Books. This came out in 1996. Now, this is why I decided to buy this book, because I liked the setup. They meet at a Greenwich Village poetry reading. Sex with him is like nothing she's ever experienced. He introduces her to his glittering nighttime world, an exclusive demi-monde of private pleasure clubs. But Cassandra Hall's new lover has a secret he wants her to share. Well, of course he does. Soon she descends into a deeper realm of exotic thirst and unspeakable passion, where she must confront the dark side of her own sensuality, and where a beautiful rival threatens her earthly soul. This sounds like this is right up my alley, so that's why I got this one. And the cover's kind of cool. It has like that texture that I like. So this bookstore doesn't have a very big horror section, but right behind it is this huge section of old Harlequin romances. And I'm always asking the lady who owns the store, hey, do you have any Gothic romances? And she doesn't really understand what I'm talking about, but she kind of always points me into the direction of the romance. And just by digging through, I was able to find a few. This bookstore is also one of those places where there's so much stock that they're like, the shelves are back like triple. So in order to find things, you have to like really dig, but then there's like no space. So it's definitely one of those ones that you can dig through, but you can spend hours in there, and she always has like a good record playing. So as I was listening to Elton John's live 1971 record, which I loved as a kid, I was digging through all these books, so I was very happy. So I pulled out this Gothic romance that looked good. The Lost Heiress of Hawk's Cliff by Joyce W. Wars. Could she escape the deadly secrets of the past? You know, you got the girl running away from the castle, and she's got a dog with her. This is a little bit of a newer one. It looks like Gothics à l'amour from Zebra. This was published in 1990, so it definitely has a newer look. I really like the typeface on the back. Let's see. When Catherine Mackenzie received an invitation to catalog the fabulous Ramsey Oriental rug collection, she was thrilled to be recognized as an expert in her chosen field. Little did she know, as she approached the bizarre Islamic-style mansion high on the wild cliffs above the Hudson River, that she was headed into the heart of a deadly family drama. A very typical Gothic romance setup, and the kind that I adore. Half a block from my house, I have one of those little libraries, and I do put books in there. I don't just take, I also give. I unhaul plenty of books there, and some good ones too, but just, you know, I like to keep the flow going. But I found this Conan book, Conan the Swordsman, and I just really liked the cover. It has kind of a Frank Frazetta look, and when I got home, I saw that it has this like little fold-out section. Very nice artwork. Okay, so this next one I couldn't resist, and that is called Smoke and Mirrors by Barbara Michaels. The keyhole part of the cover is a little ripped, as that happens often. And again, we have the store stamp. I really wish they wouldn't do that. But look at that burning baby doll. Beyond the smoke, beyond the mask. The fast-paced world of politics was both exhilarating and daunting to young Aaron Hartsock. She came to Washington, D.C. to join the campaign of a charismatic congresswoman, but Erin's enthusiasm turned to dread as the campaign took a dark turn. A chilling secret threatened Erin and her colleagues, causing a series of strange fires and a seemingly accidental death, and showing Erin the shocking truth behind the political game. The next candidate for death would soon be chosen. Smoke and mirrors. I have to say, looking at that cover, I did not expect a Washington political drama at all. All right, so here's another Gothic romance book. I actually got this one on eBay, and I forgot it was in here. Bride of Misfortune by Vanessa Blake. I wish this was in a little better condition. It looks like when you start to read it, it falls apart. It's a really gorgeous cover. Spurned by her fiancé, Lord Ingersham, and stunned by her father's untimely death, the proud and pampered Jenny was left penniless and unprotected in a wicked and hostile world. I love the setup already. Alone but undaunted, the lovely Jenny took a position as a governess, of course, only to find herself the object of her employer's unbridled lust. Faced with a life of unspeakable degradation, she saw but one way out: to succumb to the bizarre proposal of a gypsy stranger. Got to watch out for those gypsy strangers. Actually, I noticed in the romance section of this bookstore, like a whole section of gypsy-themed romances. I'm wondering if that's like politically incorrect now to even use that term. I think it probably is. Had fate intended this cruel match with a gypsy who would resort to any treachery to make her his bride of misfortune? You know, you really have to admire the way these paperbacks just did the copy. There's a lot to learn, and this is a skill that I'm still working on, is how to write a great premise to get someone to want to buy this like I did. So this one I grabbed, and I'm hoping to find more of these, and that is the Blackstone Chronicles Serial Terror in 6 parts by John Saul. I have the entire series in a hardback book that I've never opened. So I feel like this is a sign I should read this. I really loved John Saul in high school, so I might just start with this book, but I'm going to start now looking for these on eBay and in thrift stores to collect them. If any of you guys collect these, let me know in the comments below. All right, so this one I feel like was the pick of the day, certainly, and that's Spawn by Sean Hudson. I have seen this book in the Paperbacks from Hell book. I've seen it featured on Cameron Chaney's library and a few others. And I was really thrilled to find this in the wild for like $1. Pretty amazing. In fact, when I pulled it off the shelf, I was just like, oh, you know, looking over my shoulder to make sure no one was going to try to grab it out of my hand. Of course, no one was, because that's what's great about that store. No one is going into the horror section. Just a crazy, crazy cover art with a diabolical looking baby and a man trapped in a jar, and this wonderful gold lettering that's raised. All right, here we go. Spawn. This is a crazy setup. Spawn, with an uncharacteristic tenderness, hospital orderly Harold Pierce rescued unborn children from the licking flames of the basement furnace. That is just so gross. With loving care, he buried their tiny, unformed bodies in shallow graves near his isolated shack. With lunatic glee, he watched the jagged streaks of lightning scream across the sky, sending a charged power cable into his makeshift cemetery. With utter amazement, he saw life created from death, hellish spawn that nursed on blood and fed on the minds of the insane. I mean, you can not get more over-the-top Paperbacks from Hell horror with this. Again, that stupid stamp. All right, this was a leisure book, and it was published in, I can't make out that Roman numeral right now, but I'm going to look it up, and I'll put it right there. All right, moving on. This is maybe a little bit more of a romance than a Gothic romance, but I liked the cover, and that's called Savannah Purchase by Jane Aiken Hodge. Savannah Purchase. As children, Juliet and Josephine often played the innocent games of impersonation. They were cousins, but they looked enough alike to be twins. Life and war separated them, but the years had not dimmed the astonishing resemblance. Now fate suddenly threw them together again, 2 beautiful, desirable women playing out a deadly masquerade. Here's another one. Gothic Romance that I found at the store. And like I said, they're very hard to find because they're so hidden in stacks of other books. But this is Amanda Knight, Lament for Lost Lovers. A search for an ancient treasure brings joy to the brink of love and disaster. We have a young blonde woman in a pantsuit running from the castle, giving a little bit of a modern twist. Brigante House was an old English mansion built on a hill near Hadrian's Wall. The local legend, handed down for centuries, told of a tragic pair of Roman lovers buried beneath the hill, along with a fabulous treasure. That's kind of a different type of premise. I like it. At least it's not a governess. When Joy Brigante moved into the old house, a handsome Scottish archaeologist was waiting to ask her permission to start digging the hill. Joy was so attracted to him that she found it impossible to refuse his request. But the legends also told of a terrible fate that would befall anyone who tried to open the lover's tomb. Every other digging expedition on the hill had ended in disaster, and this would prove to be no exception. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Here's another Gothic romance that I picked up, and I can tell from the art that it's a little bit of a newer one. This one is called River Bend by Helen B. Hicks. The locked room held deadly secrets of the past. Of course it did. This was Zebra Books, 1987. Afterwards, Beth wondered why she had felt no premonition, no hint of danger, when Adam Heller invited her to a house called River's Bend. But at the time, still shocked over her father's death, she had only felt gratitude. The local people spoke of a curse that had taken its toll on the 3 lives of the Hellers, leaving young Mark and Anne orphans. Okay, well, it goes on, but yeah, this looks like a pretty fun read. All right, so here's a little sword and sorcery book I found in the little library called Sword Woman by the creator of Conan by Robert E. Howard. Very cool cover. Definitely has that Frank Frazetta look. There is a Frank Frazetta museum not too far from me that I had been planning to go before COVID-19 shut everything down, but once everything gets back to normal, hopefully, I'm going to take a little trip there, and I'll do a video about it. I really love his artwork. All right, here's one from our old friend Andrew Niederman, and that's called Unholy Birth. Is it a blessing or a curse? The cover looks like a cheap take on the Rosemary's Baby movie poster. And speaking of Rosemary's Baby and baby horror stories, I just released a new short story that's on Amazon called Casa Diablo. It's a short read, like, I don't know, 5,000 words, and that is very much a Rosemary's Baby theme. So, I am not immune to stealing these ideas either. I actually wrote that short story expressly for submission for Midnight in the Pentagram, the Silver Shamrock Press short story collection, and it was rejected, so I decided to publish it. Actually, it was rejected, but it had made several cuts, and they actually really liked it, but I guess I didn't make the final cut, but I think it's a pretty good story. So I'm going to link that below if you want to check it out. But anyway, back to this book. Congratulations, it's a boy. Now it's time to pray. Kate Dobson and her girlfriend run a successful California catering business and share a beautiful home in the Indian canyons of Palm Springs. They are secure in their relationship and more than comfortable financially, but Kate wants something more, a child. Her longing has invaded her dreams, turning them to nightmares, but it is a need that won't be ignored. All right, so then it gets into this, artificial insemination, and God knows what will happen. I really like Andrew Niederman. I think he's a great writer, whether he's writing his own works or ghostwriting for V.C. Andrews. I will definitely read this one. Speaking of V.C. Andrews, I picked this one up. It's called Cloudburst. This one I don't have, and I have to go through my books to see if I have any in this series. This is one of the later books. I can tell because the cover just is not as cool. Okay, so this is the March Family series, one of the later series. The first one is called Family Storms. I don't have that one, but of course I'm going to add this to my V.C. Andrews stack. So the last one I got is a Regency romance, and I do like to read those every once in a while, and I know there's a new series on Netflix that I want to watch, and I just bought the first book in that series, is it called The Duke and I? So yeah, I'm going to get into that. So this is called Lord Radcliffe's Season, and the reason I got that was kind of a joke because my nephew's last name is Radcliffe, and he kind of looks like this, and his girlfriend kind of looks like this. So I thought it was kind of funny. But I might read this one because it looks like fun. Determined widow and a stubborn hero. I'm not going to read all the description because I know this video is getting long, but it's fun. I read a lot of that stuff when I was a kid. I mean, we would just have like a stack of them along with the Gothic romance. I always like the Gothic ones a little better just because of my horror bent, but I love a good romance too, and I can get into it. So let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books and if there are any I should move to the top of the stack. And if you've read Spawn especially, I would love to hear your thoughts about that. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for stopping by my haunted library, and I'll see you soon. Bye!